Now, content creation is redefining reality, and content creators are shaping reality as we know it today. Now, this is a thought that has been lingering in my mind since 2 a.m. in the morning. I haven't slept. And I've just been trying to pursue it like a rabbit hole, just pulling the string till it snaps. And so I must make a disclaimer that indeed I'm going to talk about how social media is indeed redefining reality, and how content creators are, by virtue of the narrative that I'm going to weave, shaping reality as you know it. But before then, let me give a disclaimer. First things first, we have something called the Dunning-Kruger effect. And given that this very recent knowledge that I've just consumed, 4 hours fresh in my mind, I'm trying to develop a model through which I can vividly elaborate this message. It's not easy, and it's very difficult, I must say that for sure. So first things first, in the Dunning-Kruger effect, I'm at the point of very high confidence, zero experience. What that means is that I'm the least competent individual. I'm exactly incompetent to talk about all that I'm going to talk about in the course of the video. I have no moral authority whatsoever to even dissect such an issue. All that I have is the ability to convey a message in a way that's very picturesque, descriptive, and it is my hope that you're gonna at least find my arguments palatable. Because whatever I'm proposing will indeed be inconsistent and incoherent because it's very newly found. But with all that being said, extend grace and mercy my way, and don't send me to the dungeons. Okay, now let's start. Like I said, as you know it, content creators are shaping reality, and content creation is redefining reality as you know it. But why did I say this for sure? Now, we live in an era of the digital panopticon. The digital panopticon, simply put, is that we have watchers, we're being watched, but no one can watch the watcher. No one can survey the surveyor. No one can notice the noticer. And it's evidenced by the fact that when you consume content online, you're observing, you're seeing someone else, but the person who's being observed does not know that they're being observed because they don't know where the content piece goes. That is the era of the digital panopticon. And I've really been thinking about all this, how social media as you know it today is indeed redefining the global world order. And I might even go ahead to say that social media is indeed man's second greatest invention after language. That is according to me. That language is indeed man's greatest invention, because every single thing that we have around us is because communication occurred, information was transferred, and there was that bit of knowledge accumulation where the previous generation built off the efforts of the previous generation, and the current generation is just doing the same. That's why, according to me, language is indeed man's greatest invention, because everything stems from communication and the ability to convey information from one generation to another. And social media is trading along the same lines. And the same ranks, the Hall of Fame, like the steam engine, like the invention of fire. I put social media on that particular pedestal, and you shall learn why. Now, what I'm going to talk about requires a level of intellectual commitment. It's not easy for me to master what I'm going to say, because very technical issues that I personally can't even understand. My brain is working too fast, my mouth can't even keep up. So I'm trying to find a way that I can articulate my message now that's very coherent and clear, in a way that you're going to be able to follow every single thing that I say, in an articulate manner that's very persuasive. Is it easy? No, it's not. But that's why we're doing it. For the fans, it's just for fun. Let's do this for fun. Because I love this. I love doing this. I love philosophizing things, trying to break them and find them in their core essence. Attention is the new currency. You and I both know that. And it's a very interesting loop, a model that I've tried to extract and make it very exciting to listen to. So first thing, we have attention is the new currency. That's focus. And with focus, the goal is how do you turn this focus, as we know it, into following. Then how do you turn the following, right, into fame? And how do you translate the fame into fortune? And have the same Mr. Beast, Charlie D'Amelio kind of narrative, the Khaby Lame kind of narrative, and so forth and so forth. So the various arguments that I've brought forth. The first is the era of the digital panopticon. And you can learn more about it through the Philosophize This podcast by a boy called West, James West, if I'm not wrong. Go watch the podcast, you're going to learn much about it. But transitioning further into the core element of my entire argument here, and what I think is something that's worth mentioning, is in the era of the digital panopticon, we have willingly relegated our privacy to the extent that it is not by any form of coercion whatsoever, but we have willingly relegated our privacy every single time we post content online or put something out there. We're exposing ourselves to the world, and it's as if there's some second self that exists out there. Just as you're watching this video, there is indeed an impression that you're making of me. It's just a minute story. It's never really the full picture. And now the digital panopticon gradually translates into how we have, like, we call them doppelgangers. Doppelgangers or pseudo identities that exist in the online stream, but might not be actually consistent with reality. The doppelganger effect. Something very interesting. And so even as I think further about this, and I try to stretch this narrative even further, I begin to think about other things. I begin to think about psychographics. I begin to think about demographics, and how social media is actually transforming how we perceive everything, like a new global order, a new world order in the making. Like the zeitgeist of today is indeed psychographics. And you see, the thing with language is that we use so many big words to talk about very simple things. And also etymology is very, very essential. Your ability to deduce the root of a word and not be flustered or frustrated by how big it sounds, but just focus on the core essence and realize how simple it is. Now, psychographics simply put is this. So we have two things. We have psychographics, we have demographics. Demographics, simply explained, we know it. It's a grouping of people based on the distribution of gender, of sex, height, ethnicity, color of the skin, physical attributes. Whereas psychographics is something altogether different. Psychographics is a grouping of people based on their preferences, attitudes, ambitions, inclinations, and such kind of facets. If I can give you an example that will most elaborately express what psychographics is when you go to, let's think of somewhere random, Mukono, west of Jinja. If you go to Mukono in Uganda and you play some Taylor Swift song, then you hear somebody like, huh? Is that Taylor Swift? Huh? Is that Taylor Swift? Lord, before you know it, you have three people who are connecting, not because of any, can I say, racial or even societal or even ethnic, even sex kind of consideration, but because they connect. The point of connection is this singular individual we call Taylor Swift, and they identify as Swifties. And also we have these cultural identities that when a superstar goes wherever they go, when Chris Brown goes to Tanzania, when Chris Brown goes to South Africa, when Chris Brown goes to Monaco, there are people who associate with the identity of Chris Brown, and in that they form a community, and they're going to show up because they find some resonance with the pillar or the identity or the enigma of Chris Brown. That is psychographics. Now, psychographics also applies the other way. You have a kid in Bangalore, south of India, who speaks like this. Hey, what's up, dog? Hey, how you doing, man? Man, the other day, you know what? Bruh, stop. Man, you can't be tripping like that. Stop it, man. Yo. Bruh, what's happening in Brooklyn these days? Sounding like a kid in Brooklyn, New York. There's a kid in Bangalore, maybe has not even left Bangalore. Maybe doesn't even know if New York exists, just knows the idea of New York, but has never been there, just sees it in like streams, clips, and videos. But because how pervasive the internet and social media is, the boy is assuming attitudes and tendencies that are very typical of people who live in that geographical location. So indeed, psychographics is breaking down the world that we know to its fundamental core essence and redefining everything as we know today. And that's why I then say that social media is indeed redefining reality as we know it. Because reality is perception. And social media is informing how you perceive the world. And by virtue of it informing how you perceive the world, then I'm actually saying that social media is redefining reality. That kid in Bangalore who sounds like that kid in the Brooks or in Brooklyn, that is psychographics. When Taylor Swift goes to play, Taylor Swift is known in places that she doesn't even know exist. Taylor Swift is known in places that she doesn't even know exist. That is psychographics at face value. And that is indeed a shifting of the global order. We're no longer talking about demographics, we're talking about psychographics. But how does psychographics interplay with other facets in life? Big data. One of the key instruments that big data uses is psychographical data. What I mean by that is very simple. You go on TikTok, the algorithm studies what you like, it takes note, then it increases the frequency of what you like and what you focus on, or what you click, or what you watch for a longer period of time. Then it makes more of that, and if you react positively, then it makes more of that. Then just like that, you curate the algorithm to feature content that you align with. And it's all based on psychographical data. You, the white guy in, let's say, south of Atlanta, then you, the black guy in, let's say, northwest Philly, can align. Not because of racial understandings, but because of psychographical connection. Those are just but extremes to elucidate the message that these days demographics are gradually shading to the background, and psychographics is taking the foreplay. So bear with me, the ideas that I'm trying to bring forth require a level of high intellectual CC to comprehend. Like you see, engine power, CC, so intellectual CC, the same kind of narrative. It's been boggling my mind for the past 7 hours, and I must find a creative outlet for it, or else I'm just going to go crazy. A perfect example of why psychographics is informing the world order is when you think about guys like Joe Rogan and Chris Williamson. Here on campus, I simply ask people to say favorite podcast. And the moment they say Joe Rogan or Chris Williamson, or they say, I don't know, Alex Omozi, there and then we have a point of connection and we can talk about their most recent podcast. And I don't care if they're from Italy, if they're from Spain or Sweden. We just talk about Chris Williamson and Joe Rogan and we connect, tap, just like that. That is psychographics at face value. And even psychographics going ahead in terms of grouping of individuals, because based on their preferences, it's simple. If I want to know the kind of person you are, I just go to your YouTube page and I see the suggestions. Therein I know the kind of preferences you have, and I can put you in a box and categorize you and say X, Y, and Z is a very left-wing individual or a right-wing or a conservative. Just based on what they consume, I can categorize individuals. That is the power of psychographics at face value. And now it actually has a very pervasive effect, trickling down to our human interactions. So indeed, when I say that social media is redefining reality as you know it, there is some substance to my statement. But again, I also said something very interesting, that content creators are shaping reality as you know it. Yes, content creators are indeed shaping reality. Let me give you a couple of names. Mr. Beast, Marcus Brownlee, the D'Amelio sisters, Chris Williamson, Joe Rogan, Addison Rae, Madison Beer, Sniper Wolf, Pokemon, Gary Vee. These are just but names that came top of mind while I was trying to ruminate about how indeed content creators are shaping reality. And the most pertinent of them all, and I'll talk about him in a much more intricate fashion, the guy who does, you guessed that right, the meme. The myth, the man, the legend. Khaby Lame, from Senegal, he's Senegalese Italian. We'll talk about him. So, let's build that thought a little bit further. So we talked about how content creation is redefining reality. Now let's talk about how content creators are shaping reality. Let's string the two together and see how indeed they're redefining the global order as we know of it today. Let's take a step back. I did some analysis. Let's take a step back. The reason why I mention these names is because the individuals who are the trendsetters, they're the pacemakers, they have what we call the fast mover advantage. And fast mover advantage is simply this, is the advantage that you get by virtue of being the first person in a particular premise, industry, or service line. Example of fast mover advantage in management and business. I'll give you a couple of companies. Let's think. Amazon. Amazon has a fast mover advantage in what? Online retail marketing. Let's think again. Let's say Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola has a fast mover advantage in what? It has a fast mover advantage in soft drinks. Let's think again. Let's say Netflix. What does Netflix have? Netflix has a fast mover advantage in online video streaming. Let's move. Let's go. Which other company has a fast mover advantage? eBay. What does eBay have a fast mover advantage? eBay has a fast mover advantage in selling of products online, but to be even more specific, individual selling of products, bidding, online bidding, because in eBay you can bid for products and the price goes to the highest seller. Let's think again. Nestle, fast mover advantage in chocolate. Johnny Walker, fast mover advantage in scotch and whiskey. And the reason why I'm really paying great Spacelink, fast mover advantage in satellite Wi-Fi connection. SpaceX, fast mover advantage in going to space, privatization of the space industry. All this, the Ivy Leagues have a fast mover advantage in liberal arts education. You go try opening your own liberal arts school. Let's see if someone is gonna come. No one's gonna come. Because the Ivy Leagues have the fast mover advantage. They've been here since decades. Not decades, eons. That is the fast mover advantage. And the content creators that I've mentioned have the fast mover advantage. When the application profiles were coming into scene, 2018, when TikTok was actually getting the buzz, there were the fast ones there. YouTube in 2005, 2006, 7, 8, 9, 2007, thereabout. Marcus Brownlee made his first YouTube video in 2009 when he was a teenager. Khaby Lame, when TikTok was about to take off, he used to make content online. And the guys used to say, get a real job. But he said that, let me create content because that's what I love doing. And voila, today Khaby Lame has 162.5 million followers on TikTok. He should be the second most followed individual on TikTok. His life has changed forever. Let's talk a little bit more about Khaby Lame. So Khaby Lame was working in a factory. Should be in Italy, I believe. Or Senegal, but should be in Italy, I think. Then during the COVID, I believe, financial struggles, started making content. Guys were chastising him and making fun of him. All of a sudden, the man says nothing. Absolutely nothing. Nothing at all. Nothing. There's a saying in rhetoric and the art of public speaking that goes that silence is the most effective way of communication. Because what silence gives the speaker time to ruminate about the message and articulate the next thought. Silence gives the listener the ability to soak in what has been said. And silence has that musical attribute that makes listening pleasurable. That is silence. That is the power of silence. And Khaby Lame has this ability to tap into silence by just having gestures and facial expressions that speak amidst the silence. So he speaks in the silence without saying a word. When he does, huh? Or when he does, or when he does, huh? His silence is indeed making a pronounced statement. And that is why you have 162 million and 162.5 million individuals follow him across TikTok. Recently, he was Forbes 30 under 30. Recently, he was Forbes 40 under 40. Recently, he was featured in Fortnite and there's a character about him. And that is a very precise example of how content creation is indeed redefining reality. Where on earth can you dare give me an industry that can showcase such a profound level of overnight success? I call it overnight success not because it's overnight, but because if you're going to compare other industries and how long it takes other industries or other individuals in those industries to achieve such level of access and influence, vis-a-vis the level of access and influence Khaby Lame has achieved within that period of time, He started creating content during COVID. We are 4 years down the line. He has 62.5 million followers. He's already Forbes 30 and 30 and he's 23 years old. For you to make such level of, can I say, watershed success, it will take you the span of an entire lifetime. So 2020, 2024, in context, is indeed what overnight success. Where else can you see that in the world? Social media is indeed redefining reality as you know it. That the other day you can be working in a factory, one post, you're one post away. You're one post away from focus, that translates into followers, that translates into fame, that translates into fortunes. And guess what? Guess who you're going to employ? You're going to employ that consultant at McKinsey to help you increase your market access once you become the next Khaby Lame. You're going to employ that engineer at Stanford to help you do search engine optimization where your content is going to be proposed. You're going to employ a Socrates at the University of Pennsylvania to help you ideate and think about new and novel ways to articulate your content. You're going to employ that fine arts major somewhere in, let's say, UC Berkeley to help you establish your social media presence and brand, how you brand yourself and marketing. You're going to employ social media is indeed redefining the world order as you know it. Can we transition a little bit? Let's transition a little bit to an individual who is actually making an indelible footprint on the face of reality as you know it. Mr. Beast. Mr. Beast at this point as we speak has a cumulative total of 65.1 billion. 65.1 billion YouTube videos, YouTube video views. It should be around 306 million followers on YouTube. Mr. Beast started very simply. He had $10,000. He recorded himself giving it to a homeless individual. And when people, I don't know, they vibed with the message, they followed his content, and he got rebates worth $20,000. So he put in 10,000 and he got back 20,000. He put in 20,000 and got back 50,000. He put in 50,000, got back 120,000. He put in 120,000, and just like that, he has enough money to have this outlandish, outstanding, outrageous videos where you can blow up 50 Bugattis. And he's gonna get more money from blowing up the Bugattis than you would have if you sold the Bugattis in the first place. That's crazy. That's absurd. But that is the world we live in. I mean, right now Albert Camus is laughing in his grave because Albert Camus talked about absurdism. And it's really, really funny because the world we live in is more absurd now than ever before. How do you explain how a man like Khaby Lame, who says absolutely nothing at all, makes more money than a professor who can say everything, than the academician who knows it all? That Khaby Lame, through his subtle forms of communication, earns way more than that PhD holder in communication. How do you explain that? You cannot explain that. There is no logical procedure that can really elaborate how people can be so much enthralled by silence. Mr. Beast, he blows up cars. He buries himself for 50 hours. He purchases an island. He skydives, does deep sea diving. He does everything. And the more he does it, the more outrageous, outlandish, and outstanding things he does, the more following, the more viewership he gets. And he transforms the focus into following, the following into fame, the fame into fortune. Where else in the world is such a possibility rendered accessible? That kid somewhere in Uganda, that kid somewhere in Harare, Zimbabwe, that kid somewhere in Windhoek, or Benin, Cote d'Ivoire, Alger, is one video away, is a smartphone internet connectivity away from unpronounced, ineffable fame, fortune, and success. Where else in the world is such a possibility rendered available? It's never been heard of. It's indeed the new global order. Let's consider another person, Marcus Brownlee. Marcus Brownlee makes tech videos. He started doing content creation when he was in high school, 2009. And since then, he's been making videos and content about various videos, various things. And because of the level of viewership he's accrued over time, he was able to interview Bill Gates, Barack Obama, the late Kobe Bryant, Mark Zuckerberg. If you meet one of them, you're gonna find a portrait, you're gonna take a photo and have a portrait and put it on a 105-inch wall, saying that, hey guys, I met Mark Zuckerberg, who did you meet? Hey guys, I met Barack Obama, who did you meet? Hey guys, I met the late Kobe Bryant, who did you meet? He's met all four of them. Why? Because of the content he has produced, the focus, the attention, we said attention is the new currency, the focus he has accrued, and now he's able to translate the focus into follower, into fame, and now into fortune. It's the full circle. Where else in the world is this possible? Nowhere at all. So how do we tie, and just like that, I've been able to tie and beautifully bouquet the narrative of how content creation is redefining reality, and how content creators are indeed shaping reality. And content creators are shaping reality in two fundamental ways. One, we have the idea economy. Two, we have the influencer economy. But there's some individuals who trade between the two. An example is Adam Grant. Adam Grant is in the idea economy because he's a professor at Wharton. He talks about ideas. He talks about managerial concepts. How do you optimize your life? How do you optimize management? And takes a very anthropological, sociological, and even psychological perspective in all of this. And he talks about it in his books. Beautiful stuff. And because of that, he's able to influence dialogue. He's able to influence academia. That is the world we live in today. And because of that, he's able to influence young people like me who want to achieve the level of success that he has. So already, he's planting himself in the hearts, minds, and souls of the future generation. Because he's trading between the idea and influencer economy, where he's a source of authority. Let's think about the D'Amelio sisters. We have Charlie, Dixie, D'Amelio. They have 200 million followers on TikTok. And during COVID, they used to get 400k followers per day. 400k followers per day. Takes a lifetime. And when they dance, when they develop a trend, when they dance in front of the camera and they look very pretty and the dancing style is very catchy, what happens is that you have this crazy and enormous effect where every single girl across the world wants to replicate the dancing style just, if not as better, as Charlie and Dixie D'Amelio. Two girls who are indeed having such an unfathomable effect across the entire landscape, where girls have them as their idols and identities and trying to replicate themselves in line and in light with Charlie and Dixie D'Amelio. They establish trends, then the trends become into something else. It's adopted and assimilated all across the world. Your viewership, and it transforms and translates into something else. That is the power of psychographics. That is the power of content creation. That is the power of content creators. They establish trends, the trends are adopted and assimilated, we create more of it, and just like that, they turn focus into followership, into fame, into fortune. One post, one endorsement can earn them up to $750,000. Where else in the world is this possible? Since the beginning of time itself, has this ever been possible? It's indeed the nascent stages of a new global order. And that little girl, that 4-year-old child, is now just scrolling that tap, 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 saying that I want to become like Charlie and Dixie D'Amelio. I want to become like Sniper Wolf. I want to become like Addison Rae. I want to become. And once you plant yourself in the hearts and minds of the future generation, you're going to resonate in their minds forever. And whatever might happen, you will remain pertinent and relevant for as long as you remain firmly ingrained and anchored in the hearts and minds of individuals. And what better time to start when they're young? And that's why we have 4-year-old kids on TikTok, Reels, Shorts, tap, 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 tap. Guess what? Once the seed is planted in their heads, there's no turning back. And then the new global order will just be reinforced over and over again and can never at any point whatsoever be challenged. Because they're going to grow into it. It's like a weed that has been planted. It's very pervasive and powerful. There is no turning back. There is no turning back. This is the new global order. I've been thinking a lot. Since 2 a.m. in the morning, I've been thinking. And here I have this web, call it a web. Starting from one end, continuing to the other end. It's a web. It's a web of so many things. It's like my mind is very. This is how my mind is on a daily basis. I'm always thinking about something, finding outlets how I can convey my messages. And if I don't do it, I'm gonna go crazy. I promise you for sure. And it's so much to handle in my head that at some point yesterday, I felt like my head was gonna explode. That I needed to literally articulate this or make sense out of it because I couldn't sleep. But now here we are, we're doing this. So we've talked about how content creation is indeed shaping. Content creation is redefining the world order, redefining reality, and content creators are shaping reality as we know it itself. But now let's transition to something much more interesting. But before we even do that, I would like to make a point, and this is evidenced here, that psychographics, as you might see, according to my perspective, might not actually be leading to globalization, or globalization might actually be the first effect of psychographics. But the most pertinent effect of psychographics is homogenization, how individuals are now photocopies. Photocopies where they forfeit the individual attributes just to fit in a particular societal frame, and like pots, they're molded in a particular way and they don't think anything beyond that. That is homogenization. And that homogenization, it invites or paves into the era of conformity. Now more than ever, we live in the era of conformity, where individuals forfeit their independency, just conform. Where individuals forfeit the individual attributes that make them unique and stellar, just conform. Where individuals will rather be one other sheep in the flock than the lone sheep that charts his own path. This is the era of conformity. Philosophers, writers, authors have warned us about this. But as always, we disregard them in the present. and then look back in retrospect and say, oh, Nightingale was right. Oh, C.S. Lewis was right. Oh, Aristotle was right. Oh, Socrates was right. Oh, Albert Camus was right. Oh, Jean-Paul Sartre was right. Oh, boo-hoo. Boo-hoo. We say that they were right. We condemn them while they're alive. Then as time passes, then they're actually right. We say, oh, so he was right when he said, oh, please. Fake. We are fake people. We're very fake. So, but there's one last thing that I wanted to close this entire web with. I've said that content creation is indeed redefining reality, and content creators are shaping reality. But so what? So what, you may ask? I don't know. Like I said, I just think, and I love thinking. So I think and I articulate and articulate and I think, and voila, the cycle continues. A chicken and egg is a causality kind of dilemma, a causality dilemma. Voila. I think that every single person should be a content creator. Why? Because it literally costs you nothing to create content. And the upside, if indeed your video trends and gets viral, is unfathomable. I mean, the trade-off is very low and the payoff is really high. Think about it. Let's do a wager. Worst case scenario, nobody watches your video. No one. One view, and that's yours. No one watches your video. Just one view. One. Or maybe two. Your video, one view. You watch your video and your mother. That's it. No one else watches your video. Worst case scenario, nobody watches your video. Which that worst case scenario isn't that bad. Because nobody has watched your video, there's nothing to worry about. Because no one has seen it. If they know that your video has one view, they've watched it. So you have another view. So worst case scenario, nobody watches your video, which is still a good scenario. On the flip side, if things work out very well and everybody watches your video, now you have focus that you translate into followers, that you translate into fame, that translate into ka-ching, fortune. So worst case scenario isn't that bad, and best case scenario is really, really good. And guess what? You don't have to pay anything to create content. You can do it. Internet, a phone, and off you go. Just a little bit of courage, believe in yourself, and give it a shot. If you miss, it's okay. If you don't miss, you win. In both cases, you win. Because never on earth has such a reality ever been rendered accessible and available to each and every one of us. That's my first argument. My second argument is the simple fact that you can indeed create as much content as you can possibly create in a day. There is no upper limit. The lower limit is 0. Yes, the lower limit is 0, that you create no content. But the upper limit is your ability. How much content can you churn out in a day? That's why we had the world record of a guy called Malik in India, who uploaded 113 YouTube videos in a day. That's why we have individuals who are building AI bots. That what they do, so for example, this video that I'm making, I don't know how long it is, they slice it up, chunky. Do like 13, or even 14, or even 50 YouTube shorts, TikTok reels. Then they create 5 accounts, 5 YouTube accounts, 5 TikTok accounts, 5 LinkedIn accounts, 5 Facebook accounts, 5 Instagram accounts. Then the same content piece, they circulate it on all the accounts. So they have 15 pieces, and each piece is being put on 25 different accounts spread across all the platforms. So now we have a 15, think about it. Now we have one piece of content, around 15 or even 25 accounts, and then they just do that to all the 25 or even the 15 pieces like that, and increase the frequency, just because it's a matter of quantity, putting content out there and seeing how it performs, and you do more of what works and less of what doesn't. That's what they say. I mean, I'm not a professional in all these things. That's why I say that I have no credibility whatsoever to talk about what I'm talking about to you right now. So there is no upper limit, but the lower limit is nothing. But you may ask, so what? So what, I might say? Because gradually I see ourselves moving into an era with personality hires. Sorry about that. Because gradually I see ourselves moving into an era of personality hires, where individuals will not only be recruited based on their ability to perform and actually deliver value, but based on how well they tightly fit in the fabric of the workplace, or how well they're inextricably linked in office culture. And one of the easiest way of just knowing whether or not someone is a good personality fit, just by looking at their social media pages. And from then you can deduce the kind of person that you're hiring, the kind of person that you're interacting with. Because that's why these days I'm applying for a job and they tell me to upload a YouTube video where I talk about X, Y, and Z. Why would I do that? Because I want to see how you comport yourself. They want to see your personality through you dissecting the matter that they've suggested. So moving to an era of personality hires. An era whereby if you're going to do your Bachelor's of Arts in Journalism and Communication, the first question they'll ask you is, what is your social media presence? What is your digital footprint? Because journalism is now shifting towards social media, where individuals have more credibility than BBC, CNN, Al Jazeera News. Individuals have more credibility than the traditional and conventional news sources. Individuals. And so its question is, fine, what is your social media presence? How relevant are you in the digital space? And from then on, how can you make a contribution with that perspective in mind? And that's how these days singers, content creators get endorsements, find themselves on news channels, news panels, being interviewed and interviewing as well. And from then on, the sky's the limit. They never stop. Such possibilities have been rendered ubiquitous and accessible thanks to content creation. And indeed, when I do say that content creation is redefining reality and content creators are shaping reality, I then say that I wouldn't be farther from the truth. And as always, the philosophers, writers, authors, psychologists, sociologists, anthropologists, phenomenologists, psychologists, like I've already said, human behavioralists, and neuroscience experts. Academicians, of course, I forgot them, how could I? Sometimes they react posthumously. By that I mean they react to the status quo. Sometimes they're wise enough to predict, but when they predict, they sound like conspiracy theories. Like Aldous Huxley wrote, what's the name of the book? The New World, something like that. The Brave New World. When Aldous Huxley wrote The Brave New World, people thought that he was a conspiracy theorist. When George Orwell wrote 1984, people thought that he was a conspiracy theorist until it happened. With big data, the digital panopticon, it's all there. So right now we're talking about philosophers and writers. A perfect example is a guy called Byul-Chul Han. I think I got that right. Byul-Chul Han. He's written a book about the burn of society. And right now we're philosophers, thinkers, thinkfluencers who are taking stage and talking about how indeed social media is informing and imposing an unfathomable effect on the new generation and the current generation at large, where we human beings cannot consider reality beyond the scope of content. We cannot consider reality. We cannot fathom a world where content creation does not exist. It's indeed a new global order. And we're shifting from online marketing, we're shifting from online selling to live selling, where people actually sell products online and they're bought on the spot. And it's something that Gary Vee has talked about, which I find very compelling. There's a need a global order, and it's happening in the moment. I can feel it for some reason. But again, I might sound like a very conspiracy theorist, given that all that I'm saying is nothing but thoughts I had at 2 a.m. that kept me up all night. I couldn't sleep until I articulated them and made this video. People like James West in Philosophize This, they talk about these ideas in his podcast. Byul-Chul Han talks about in his books. And gradually we are seeing this shift, and people are trying to examine the status quo. And you have concepts and ideas coming up, like digital minimalism. How do you reduce the amount of time we spend on content on social media platforms? And how do you have a much more deliberate and decisive approach when it comes to handling the digital devices and our presence in digital media? All this is merging. And I'm observing all this from a third point POV. But again, I'm part of the system. When I'm making this video, I'm making content, contributing to this fat content media kitty that just keeps on fatting day in, day out. But that's all we live in today. Ladies and gentlemen, mesdames et messieurs, c'était ça mon histoire. C'est ça que j'avais envie de vous expliquer aujourd'hui. Et la raison pour laquelle je dis ça, c'est parce que moi je trouve ça assez pertinent, crucial. Et c'est une chose à laquelle nous devons mettre un accent. Thank you for the time. I've enjoyed making this video, articulating my thoughts, and doing this. It's not easy, I must say, because there's so much activity happening here in my head. My mind can't keep up. My mouth can't keep up, rather. I'm thinking faster than I can speak, so I'm trying to pace myself, ensuring that I'm very articulate, I have the right inflections, my tonal variation is on point, and everything is well captured. But I've been able to do it nonetheless. And this is the beginning of a new era. Content creation, as you know it, is shaping reality. And content creators are doing the same. Thank you.